Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. Okay, I got the day right. Happy Wednesday, everybody. So, as you all come in, go ahead and tap the live, share the live out to anyone who would love to hear this conversation, as well as repost it and repost it to your stories as well. So, thank you all for coming in and starting the live off early with us. And we will be bringing you up soon, Bree. We're waiting on our other moderator. So we do see you and thank you for coming in early. We do appreciate your promptness. So let me go ahead and do my daily checklist. Okay. Hi, Ayana.
I'm just gonna have me waiting, just sitting in the queue,
I didn't see you in
like
the
I'm
queue, my bad.
like I'm company.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
All right, let me get
Okay.
my.
And Bree's in the queue if you're ready. Now I'll bring her up.
Okay, we're using the regular background.
Oh, I'm up for it. If you want to use the gold one, I can switch to gold really quick.
Yeah, the gold one is the closest one.
Okay. I can do it right now.
Like
Let me see.
I'll have to go all.
Okay. All right, let me bring Bree up and let's put her in the bigger screen. All right. Hi, Bree.
This thing.
Oh,
What am I doing? Come on,
TikTok is
TikTok.
TikToking. No, not that one. Hold on.
Hi.
Hi.
Did you get the background that we sent you?
Yes, ma'am, I have it.
Okay. Looks good.
I have it.
TikTok, come on now.
You
TikTok
want
is
to just drop back
TikToking.
down, Ayana, and I'll bring you back up?
I don't know why it does this to me every
Yeah, it's
time.
glitching.
Like,
Let
what
me
are we
know and
doing?
I'll drop you and bring you back.
Oh no, there we go. Looks
Okay.
like the fourth time's the charm. Thank you.
All right. Once again, welcome everybody that is here thus far. Go ahead and send out your daily heart me, repost the live, also share it out to anyone who wants to listen to this great conversation we're going to have, and also share it out to your stories. And Bree, whenever you're ready, let us know and we'll get
5 minutes.
started.
Yeah, we can jump in.
Okay.
Can y'all
Hello,
hear me okay?
everyone.
Sorry.
Oh yes, we can.
Okay, and I'm
No,
sorry. I
you're fine.
have fair warning. I have 3 dogs. I have my settings on, so like hopefully y'all don't hear them, but sometimes
Oh, we
they look
love
out they
dogs.
look out the window and think, they're guarding the fort and I can't. So just be warned.
Oh,
There's
you're
three
fine.
big ones in here.
You must have some good noise cancellation because we don't hear anything thus far. So
Awesome. Awesome.
okay.
But we
All
love
right. So
dogs.
yes, we do. So you're fine.
Good.
But welcome to our Vote Counts Town Hall Live. I am your moderator, Jaz B Flower, and right under me is Ayana. How are you? She's also moderating with me tonight. So how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing, Jazz?
I'm doing well. So, for those who are not familiar with our vote counts, we are a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, and ensuring that every voice is heard. Through education, outreach, and accountability and action, we're building a stronger democracy. So, one informed vote at a time, please join us because your vote is your power. So tonight we're joined by Brianna, who's also known as Bree Woodson, who's running for Georgia's 12th congressional district. We'll be talking about her background, also her vision for the district, and of course, taking your questions live. So, Bree, if you haven't been familiar with our format of the town hall, after each set of topic questions, we'll allow one person to come up and ask you a question on the
Awesome.
panel. If there's no one in the queue to come up and ask you a question, we'll take some questions from the chat and ask you as well. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So, Bree, could you
Hey,
tell me
Vance.
what moment yeah, so could you tell me what moment or experience that made you say, okay, it's time for me to run for Congress and offer vision for Georgia's 12th congressional district?
Oh, Lordy. I love this question. So I don't know how many, but probably most of you know, I'm known on here on TikTok primarily as a controversial blonde. That's where I got my start. We had history topics, political commentary, all of the things. Um, and there was an incident. in Georgia, and I'm sure all of y'all know about this too. The lady who called ICE on the Hyundai plant and had several hundred Korean nationals removed. And, that in and of itself obviously sparked my interest, but it mainly sparked my concern. Um, and I want to be very, very succinct in something that they weren't here to immigrate. They were here to simply train American workers. They were always planning to go back home. So thousands of jobs were lost. Lots of opportunity was lost in an area that absolutely needed and deserved that opportunity. And so I made a video. I often say 30 seconds of insane courage will change your life. So I made a video with 30 seconds of insane courage asking people if I made a run for Congress, would y'all support me? And I got a lot of yeses. And so I took that insane courage and I filed with the FEC. And that was definitely a highlighting moment, but I think it was several moments. I don't want to call myself any kind of fortune teller, but if you look back at my videos from this time last year, I was emotional about what this administration had planned. And so many people in my comments were telling me, oh, you're overreacting. Oh, was I?
Not at all.
Was I?
You were not at all.
I often tell people I'm not wrong, I'm just early, right? And so I think it was a host of moments, right, of me seeing my history attacked. My last name is Woodson. I'm a direct descendant of Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black history. So I take my history to heart. So I see an attack on history, and I know what that means. I know what that narrative stands for. If you can change history, if you can take hold of it and rewrite it, people don't have anything to reference back to. If we don't know what a white supremacist is, how do we know what to look for? Right? And so I see that. I see the aggression from ICE. I see what happened today just hours ago to that woman. And all these collective moments just, it kind of called to me like it was like voting for VP Harris. It's not that 92% of us had some kind of conference meeting to vote the same way. It was an internal call. It was a need. It was a requirement. It was an integral moment. And that's kind of what my bid for Congress felt like. It felt like an integral moment. And so here I am.
And we love that you're here. We love it. We love to see, particularly, I know Jaz does, I love to see Black women running for office. I love it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And thank you for your courage on that.
Yeah.
But I want to go ahead and roll into an icebreaker question before we get down to the tough questions.
Okay, what's up?
So, if you could invite any three people, whether they're living or from someone in history, to your dinner table, who would it be and why?
Okay, obviously my uncle, Carter G. Woodson. I want to pick his brain. Let's see. This is a good question. Etta James. Just simply because I love her. And let's see.
Okay.
Someone strong. Nat Turner.
If you want, we could. Nat Turner. Okay, so you have Carter G. Woodson, Etta James, and Nat Turner. If you could expound on any one of those, why, I would love to hear it.
Carter G. Woodson, absolutely. I would love to understand where his bravery and his courage came from. To be the second Black man after W.E.B. Du Bois, to get a PhD from Harvard, to speak so clearly about how the miseducation of the Negro was tactful and on purpose. I would love to know what drove him and how to carry that forward, because he was such a leader and such a monumental figure in history. And I would just simply love to have a conversation about that.
Amazing. I love that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and roll it over to Ayana to talk about our first topic. Ayana?
Okay.
Thank you, Jaz. Hey, Bree, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I love that Nat Turner answer. I was like, yes. Okay. Okay, I'm going to get started with economic development. We heard this from a candidate yesterday. people are leaving the state. They're leaving some states and areas to find jobs elsewhere. They're going to college elsewhere and they're not coming back to the state to work jobs. Your district has lost a lot of local employers and young people are leaving for work elsewhere. What would you do to bring sustainable jobs and small business growth back to the communities in your district?
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate this question. As you probably figured out from research, District 12 has a lot of rural communities in it. And just like with any rural community across America, really, especially the South, you run into the same issue is that there's not enough local opportunity. There is not enough, if you will, stimuli for people to stay within their own community and expand on it. So instead of incentivizing large businesses and these corporations, we need to incentivize smaller businesses, local businesses. Um, People are getting less drawn to 4-year degrees and tons of debt. Let's be honest with you. So um, I often keep in mind the phrase that there's nothing new under the sun. So reference back in history to a time where people were okay, and that was when we were extending apprenticeships, right? So why aren't we giving these small businesses incentives to hold apprenticeships to give young people structure, give young people something to look toward, give young people something to build upon within their local community, and at the same time it gives businesses a chance and opportunity to grow because they're incentivized, they have more resource, right? And that's one of the many ways that my brain first peaks on.
And I was actually just watching the Senate session, and they were talking about government red tape and contracts, and how the current administration is just unilaterally canceling contracts for work for building wind farms in some areas, in rural areas mostly. And but those jobs are temporary, even if they get the work go ahead. Those are still temporary jobs. A lot of the jobs that we see in rural areas revolve around temporary work, farm work,
Mm-hmm.
building this, building that. And then when the work is gone, when the project is finished, well, no more work. So, what do you see as your role if you get to Congress in bringing permanent employment to the rural areas that you serve?
People infrastructure, so things that draw people and require people, right? Mental health clinics, hospitals, doctors' offices, right? Affordable neighborhoods, things that draw a community and build a community. We need to invest in rural areas. There is some rural areas that still aren't getting wireless internet.
Wow.
You know, so
Wow.
it's like there it's and I try to explain to people. I really should have recorded one of my recent trips driving through the district, right? I was headed to Scriven County, and there's still cotton fields. People don't quite understand. Yeah, people don't quite understand when I say, baby, it's the South. It's still the deep South. And you see old school gas stations next to cotton fields, next to Confederate flags. It's just it's literally still that rule here. And as such, they are in part cut off from modern conveniences, and it discourages people from living there, right? But in actuality, there's a lot of beauty in rural areas. You can live on beautiful land. There's a slower pace of life. And, those things can be maintained and still invested in if it's done responsibly and properly.
Okay. And speaking of, again, back to the rural areas, farmers and agricultural workers in your district face rising costs and shrinking margins. How would you support agriculture while helping local producers and food businesses grow and stay profitable?
There's a lot of food districts, health food districts, and food deserts rather, and that is something that's I didn't realize myself was still such an issue in this area. Um, Again, pushing for local businesses, buying from local businesses, incentivizing local businesses, and that means our farms. That means our local dairy areas. Like the South still produces so much of just dairy. I buy my eggs from a farm, um, and when we push for those, when we advertise for those, when we boost our locals. I would love to see, when I go into the grocery stores now, like I go into a Kroger, the only local products that I see on a grocery in a grocery store are on the end caps. When I know good and well there could be aisles full of local products, but why aren't we communicating with them? What are we doing to help them produce, advertise, get their name out? Is it a grant? Are we needing to sponsor more grant writers? Is it a simple education matter? What can we do on our end as politicians, as people who care? What can we do to bridge the gap between the small business and the consumer? Because I feel like that's the biggest gap. And when you have so many producers, especially producers from a rural area, they might not necessarily have the education or the know-how to communicate to that level. So what are we doing to help them bridge that gap, if you understand what I mean?
I do. I appreciate that answer. Thank you. Actually going to send it over to Jaz for our next category. That is healthcare. Go ahead, Jaz.
My fave.
Yes, thank you for that. So regarding healthcare, Ms. Bree, we also know that in parts of Georgia, and particularly in your district, there is a provider shortage for those trying to get access to healthcare and having access to a healthcare provider, a general healthcare provider. But more importantly, I want to know in parts of your district, we also know that residents must take long distances getting access to see a doctor. What would you do to expand access to healthcare and so that families can get closer to home? That way they don't have to travel long distances.
In short, we need to fight to expand Medicaid and Medicare. Like it really is plain and simple. It doesn't have to be some long thought out process. It's what's clearly needed. For those of you who don't know, I am a provider. I'm a clinician in residency. I'm a substance use therapist, and I provide services in a rural area. And I see the need. Like it is devastating to see so many hospitals and clinics closing. And you know, one thing I talk about so much, and it's especially in reference to mental health in particular, is insurance. The public doesn't know about parity law, right? Parity laws have been in place since the 80s, 90s. And what they do is require your insurance company to treat your mental health along the same lines as your physical health. Because if your mental health can, affect your physical can affect your mental, they should be treated as such, right? On an equal level. But as such, you have to kind of keep insurance companies in line with law because they don't do the right thing as they should. So as of May 15th, the current administration, Trump's administration, put a pause on the enforcements that the Biden administration just recently put in to help strengthen parity laws, to help give people more opportunity to get the health care that they need and that they deserve. And so I was recently on Capitol Hill advocating for mental health policy to Congress. And fortunately, it is still one of those things that is bipartisan. And I think I can also say that healthcare in general is one of those things, as much as both sides go back and forth about it, it is overall bipartisan. You cannot ignore the fact that there is a need. You cannot ignore the fact that we need to start funding hospitals so we can build hospitals in rural areas. We can build clinics in rural areas. We can build what we need in rural areas because, most of us down south, we live in areas like this. We're not in metro areas. That's the point of us being down here, right? So, there is recently a hospital it's just outside of the district. It recently closed, and for women in that county, they now have to drive 60 miles to go have a baby, to go get OB services. 60 miles one way. What if there's an emergency? Because the hospital lost its funding that was closest to them in that town, and now they have to drive 60 miles one way. And that's happening all over the rural South, all over. And it's not okay. We need to start driving funding back into these institutions because make no bones about it, to be plain honest and simple, people will lose their lives. It is that serious.
And from what I read, that the state of Georgia just expanded their Medicaid up until December of this year. So that kind of gives people uncertainty
Hmm.
in your state. So with that being said, we also know that a lot of rural hospitals depend on Medicaid funding. And also you all are having warnings of rural hospitals closing.
Hmm.
Could you tell me your thoughts about that and how we could save rural hospitals? Should there be more funding and should there be more eyes on people understanding the importance of rural hospitals for people that need access to healthcare?
Yeah, I think we absolutely need to keep highlighting the need in rural areas for healthcare. I think it's not something you hear about on the news. It's not something you're seeing in magazines and articles. It's not something that people are talking about. We need to boost it, and the more that we have eyes on it, the more likelihood that we can see change. That means donations. That sometimes that's what it takes is mutual aid, right? That sometimes that's what it takes to keep something alive and keep something floating. But people have to know about it. People have to be educated on it, right?
Absolutely.
And
Hmm.
so to keep boosting it, keep talking about it, because like I said, it's 60 miles one way for an emergency for a mom with a baby on the way is a lot.
Absolutely. And just lastly, before I turn it over to someone in the chat to ask you a question, but I want to ask you more about women's access to healthcare. We
Hmm.
also know, in regards to just people who that live in the rural area that tend to struggle to find OBGYNs, such as services like prenatal care and postpartum support. Could you tell me what your solutions would be to support to improve more women's healthcare services in your district?
Yeah, you know what? I think that is a very layered question because so much of that depends on the proper and necessary research. And there is a current attack on research and medical advances by the current administration. We cannot successfully expand on women's healthcare without the proper research, right? And so I think it starts there with being able to put people in position that know what they're talking about, that can actively help women. There's so much, I feel like there's so much guessing around women's healthcare. And I'm speaking as a woman who has been through the ringer with healthcare, been misdiagnosed, underdiagnosed, overdiagnosed, all of the above, and then some, right? And so women's centers are important. Um, Gender affirming care, if you will. You know, those scary words, those
And
oogie
that
boogie
word tends to
words,
get
right?
misconstrued. Yes, that word tends to get
I
misconstrued
don't,
because
I
it's a
don't,
big
I don't,
umbrella of that term.
I don't
Yeah,
think they understand. Like,
yeah,
if a man goes to the doctor and asks about Rogaine,
yeah.
it's gender
Indeed,
affirming
that falls
care.
up under that. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when you want to go get that little blue pill, that falls under gender affirming care. Imagine that. But
Yes,
it's one of those things that's been so under attack by the current administration, and it's that fun little thing they do with words is they completely misconstrue the definition of them, and they weaponize them to something different totally. And
absolutely.
if we're not careful to continue using those words in the right way, we will lose the meaning of them. So yes, we need
That's
gender
true.
affirming care. We
Yeah,
need clinics for gender affirming care. Women's care is gender affirming care.
absolutely. And thank you for expounding upon that and
Yeah.
debunking the narrative of that term because I think a lot of people hear that buzzword but don't know the full and the real meaning behind that term. So I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to allow anyone to come up and ask you, Brie, a question regarding whether it was economics or healthcare or anything that we haven't touched on specifically in those topics. Feel free to come up and ask Brie a question regarding this. Looks like we don't have anyone in the chat. But Ayana, you can correct me. I don't see anybody
I didn't see
with a
any
question in the spot.
questions, but I did see a compliment.
Okay.
Vance Bostic, who's running for office in New York's 8th District, said, God, she is so good at this.
Hi, Vance.
He said that you answer questions so professionally and so well. And I agree. But you know what? One of the things I've noticed about people who run for Congress, they're in two piles. They're either kind of meek or they're strong. And I think you have to be strong. You have to be strong just to run for office. Not even when you get in the office, but you have to run, you have to be strong. And I think you got it. I think you got that part down. You got that part down.
Yeah,
Let's see how you answer these questions about public education in schools.
I often tell people about strength and what I have and why I have it. We'll go into it another time, but long story short, I survived active addiction. I was trafficked and survived that. So I've already had my worst day and been over it. A run for Congress ain't nothing. I got this.
All right. I love to hear it. I appreciate, and I love that you're very open about your journey with
Yeah.
recovery and trafficking. And my heart goes out to you as it does to all recovering people. And I work in disability law, so I see a lot of
I love that.
what you've experienced. And I know one of the things that helps people a lot is healthcare, good healthcare. And when you don't have it, like you said, the mental's not getting treated and the physical isn't either. And it's very important that we have both of those treated,
Mm-hmm.
and so that people can stay on their 2 feet, So,
Absolutely.
not to get all mushy, but so yeah, public education in schools, recent big beautiful bill and all of these cuts to government agencies. We're seeing cuts to public education at the federal level, which is going to hit rural areas the hardest. We know that they're losing teachers, enrollment is down, and the federal government is saying, hey, leave it up to the states. And then you look at the states, and the states are like, well, we really don't have enough money, so we're also going to have to do cuts and more cuts. And before you know it, the kids are going to school in a trailer, maybe reading from the same book because they don't have enough money for books. I don't know. It seems like we're moving backwards, right?
Right,
We're
right,
moving
100%,
backwards.
100%. And I cringe when I hear them say like leave it up to the states because you know what happened when the southern states were left up to doing their own thing. Yeah, Jim Crow laws happened.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what happened.
yeah.
So I think we need to be very aware of things like that, first of all. And second of all, realize the rankings, not only within our own country, but worldwide with where we fall within education. We have no business pulling any funding anywhere from any education anywhere in the
Right.
United States. Let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. And I am not one to say that I don't exist within privilege, right? I I had parents that homeschooled me through middle school, and then I was put through a classical education. Like I took Greek in high school. Right, I had a very privileged education. And so I don't take for granted the way that I process, the way that I think, the way that I learn, because I know that I was conditioned that way. And I think the same goes for any other type of education, right? What you put into it is what you get out of it, right? And so what we're seeing now is, oh my goodness, just shortcuts in education, shortcuts in everything, AI, and it's a lot. Um, I would love to see funding back into public schools. There should be no differences in material. There should be no differences in the quality of education, no matter your income, no matter your zip code. Education is a right, right? Like it and I want to reiterate, I understand that I was privileged, and I don't think people should have to fork out tons of money like my parents did to get a high quality education. That should be something that should be the standard for us to be the nation that we are, for us to also reflect our education in the way that we do. There is a disconnect. And pulling funding from that is probably one of the most irresponsible things that we could do in this day and age.
So, okay, you get to Congress, you're in the House of Representatives, you're a Democrat, you're on one side of the aisle, and you're saying, hey, we need to invest more at this level in education, and especially higher education. How do you convince the team on the other side that what you're saying holds meaning, that it won't just benefit the people of your district, but it'll be good for all Americans. You know, the cost of higher education is ridiculous. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I have one kid in college, and I'm hopefully sending another one to college. Well, because the cost is just it's astronomical. And when you look towards the federal government, they're providing less support at the higher education level. They're capping loans. They're capping how much you can borrow as a parent. They're capping, money for professional degrees. And it just seems like the investment is no longer there. And so it's like, okay, so where do we move to? Maybe the kids don't want to go to college. Maybe they want to do vocational training. But then do you see the investment in vocational training? No, you
No.
don't. So how do you convince the people on the other side that, okay, if we're going to take money away from there, we're going to have to put it in here, or we're going to have to put more money back in there? How do you convince these people who obviously voted to cut these programs and cut this money that they need to, give us the money back?
Um, I believe in the efficacy of numbers and plain language. I'm very to the point, and I often say, you don't have to like me, you just have to let me fight for you. And I mean that for even the MAGA in the district, right? Because it's not lost on me that those people are often the ones who suffer the most. It might take them a little bit to realize it, but that doesn't change the fact that they suffer the most,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that needs to be more pushed upon the other side. I think they tend to have forgotten who their Mima and Papa were, and I think it's time someone remind them. They forget where they come from.
They do forget where they come from. Well, you get to Congress, and you're working in this big building. You got your own big office and your spinny chair, and you open up the desk drawer, and there's a check for $35,000. If only you say, I'm gonna put this bill forward, and there's a check for 25,000. If you say I'm gonna put this bill forward, so yeah, you forget where you came from.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the privilege, like you said, you came from a privileged background, and the privilege also clouds that a bit. You become disconnected from the people you serve, and then they're calling you on the phone. Hey, Bree, our schools are running out of money. What do you say to them?
We lobby. We ask for help, right? And I want to hear from the people that are struggling the most. One thing I noticed about the current incumbent, he doesn't hold town halls. He's not talking to people. I want to be accessible. So when someone calls me and say, "Hey, we're running out of money," I want to take a look at where we went wrong, because there shouldn't be that kind of shortage. Where did we overlook something? Did we underlook something? Where can we adjust? I want to be able to, when people pick up the phone and call me or write me a letter, send me an email, first of all, get a human. Second of all, that's very important to me. Second of all, actually be able to give them something measurable to say, you know what, I'm going to actually look into this and give me a week, give me 2 weeks, and be able to dive into it and come back to them with an actionable plan, with an actionable solution. Um, and I look at the current incumbent, and he's over here, on the prayer caucus and the Doge caucus, and I'm thinking of how does that benefit the schools in your district? How does that help the farmers in your district? Um, are you talking to the people? Um, are you rallying for the people? So
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. Are you showing up for the people? And I mean, what do you see as the most pressing need, most pressing educational need for counties in your district? Is it supplies? Is it transportation? Is it teachers? Is it infrastructure? What do you see as the most pressing need, and what do you plan to do about it?
I think it's a combination.
Oh no, your sound.
Oh, can you hear me?
It sounds kind of echoey.
Oh,
No, Welcome back, Bree.
Is that better?
Yes, that's better.
Okay. I think it's a culmination of all those things, honestly. When it comes to teachers, obviously we know that the same thing supplies and they need to be paid more, just point blank period, right? When it comes to infrastructure, um, schools in rural counties, they still have window units, right? They don't not all of them have central AC heating. Yeah. So, is there inequality by district in infrastructure? If that's the case, that needs to be addressed, right? And so I think it's about, again, looking at the funding, um, really pushing and supporting equal funding across the entire district, not the districts that bring in the most taxpayer income. Like I said, income and district and zip code should not dictate your education. It should not dictate your ability to get a solid quality education as a student, or your ability to get to and from school, right? So my answer to that is, how is the current funding being used? Is it being supportive in ways that really support those of the district that are at a lower quality? Or what are we doing to boost them? Are we just simply handing down materials and supplies? Or are we also getting them new supplies? Because if that's the case, well, we need to, again, take a better look at where our funding's going, take a better look at the inequality in the school district, because trust me when I say there's a lot of it when you go into the rural districts. There's a lot of it.
And we do have a question from the chat from our favorite professional constituent, the tired lady. She says, since deciding to run, what have you learned about your district that maybe you didn't already know?
What I've learned about the district, first of all, it's a very large district.
It is big.
Yeah. 22 counties. But it's very rich in history. Like I said, my kind of wheelhouse is history, in particular Black history, and there's a lot of Black history in District 12, which I really appreciate and love. Um, it is a district full of community. The people are so sweet in the district.
Well, that's nice. That's good. So when you go out there, you're not, the
Yes.
door slammed in your face. That's
Oh
nice.
no, not at all. But yeah, the history in the district is one of the things that I've really come to love and appreciate. We have some things planned for February for Black History Month, so I'm very excited to share that. So a little bit closer to the time, but that's one of my definite favorite things, is how rich in history and rich in community the district is.
All right. Hope that answers your question, tired lady. We love having you at our town halls. So we're going to move ahead to the rapid fire political questions.
Oh goodness.
Not, no pressure, no pressure. One word to describe the economy in Georgia's 12th district right now. One word.
Struggling.
Okay. What's the biggest economic opportunity you see for the district in the next 5 years?
That's a good question. Mm-mm.
Something you might consider investing in?
Well, infrastructure, really. There's a lot of infrastructure needed to be in between the main districts and the main areas and the rural districts. Infrastructure is one of them, and it's a warehouse district. I think yeah, there's a lot of space for warehouse districts. I don't know. I hate to reference the bill, but there is a part in that bill that looks to boost rural communities and rural areas. Um, and that's one of the things that I think will help, is investing, like I said earlier, like I was referencing earlier, um, putting things in those communities that will actually drive the community. So jobs, warehouses, that sort of thing.
Okay. Uh, Hospitals or urban healthcare centers, which needs federal help the most? Or
You
first?
skipped out on you missed out on that
Oh,
first
I'm
part. Say that
sorry.
again.
Rural hospitals or urban healthcare centers, which need federal help the most?
Oh Lord. Oh my goodness. Um that's difficult. Um
Is it neck and neck?
it really is, right? Because who am I to say that, as much as Grady Hospital in Atlanta does, right, for the people of Atlanta, I'm sure they need just as much help as some of the rural hospitals outside of the district, right? That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. But I do think it's neck and neck. Um, I think our urban hospitals are often overstressed and overstrained because they are in urban areas. So obviously that produces a need, right? But then you have rural hospitals that are just flat out shutting down. So, obviously there's a big need there. One is to the point of struggling and one is to the point of non-existence, right? So
Okay. Let's see. One federal program you'd fight the hardest to protect.
honestly, anything having to do with SNAP or WIC, um, it I I was really what's the right word? I was really disgusted with the pull that was pulled with SNAP benefits. As someone who works in substance use, I work in a treatment center. And so our clients, they're not working until like a little bit later in the program until they're stable, so they rely on SNAP benefits. They are fighting quite literally an illness. And, um, I'm having to sit there and explain to them, you have to suddenly figure out how to eat, right? And to see hunger weaponized against the people
Right.
is something that should never happen. It is something that is so lowly. And so I think that should be set in stone. SNAP benefits, WIC, people eating is not a benefit, right? Like that's a wild concept. It's a right. It's a need. It is, we in therapy we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. At the bottom of it is literally shelter and food. Those are the bare minimum for survival, right? So it's not a benefit, it's not a gift, it's not a this or that. It's quite literally a need, and to see that weaponized was so problematic in so many ways. And so those are programs that I absolutely tooth and nail always would fight for.
Okay. Now you're off the hook. No, the next set of rapid fire will be the fun questions that Jaz will ask you, but you're done for now. But
Okay.
I don't see any more questions in the chat, so we're going to move on to public safety, and I'm going to hand it over to Jaz. Thanks, Bree.
All
Yeah,
right, thank you.
absolutely.
So, Ms. Bree, regarding public safety, as a lot of people don't know, the state of Georgia has been trending downward when it comes to crimes such as violent crime, property theft. But with that being said, people also don't know that many communities in your district are having concerns about crime, but also want solutions that go beyond just policing. So could you tell me what steps would you take to improve public safety, such as addressing root causes like poverty, as you mentioned, addiction, and lack of opportunity?
Yeah. Um, so one thing that I wish, that I would honestly love to push for the district and would hope that it would catch fire, honestly. There is something in Atlanta um, called PAD, Policing Alternatives Diversions. And what they do is they have police background or police training but they also have mental health training. So they don't show up in police cars. They are trained to help the community, de-escalation. They will help get people off the street right then and there if need be. And I think programs like that, investing in programs like that, placing those in the community, not only will obviously help the community, but will help regain trust. Those programs do work with local law enforcement and help bridge gaps. So that's one of the ways. But I think overall, public safety means accountability. It means prevention. It means trust, right? I think there's a way to support law enforcement while you absolutely ensure transparency and oversight, right? No one's above the law, and that's just how it should be.
Thank you for that. And also, I want to tackle more of the immigration portion about public safety. So, you mentioned the fact that a lot of people in your district are having concerns about family separation. As you said that one of your motivations of running for Congress was what happened down at the Hyundai plant, but also many farms and construction companies and small businesses rely on immigrant labor as
Mm-hmm.
well. Could you tell me how would you reform immigration policy to meet workforce needs while ensuring fairness and accountability?
I I think there are so many ways that we can actually tackle immigration in a healthy way. It has been weaponized year after year, time after time, term after term for political talking point when people's actual lives and families are at stake, right? Um, and it's one of those things we need to just point the period. It should be easier to obtain legality here. It should be easier to obtain citizenship here. This long, drawn out process is for a reason, I believe, I think it is to discourage, right? And when we look at the reality of it, we look at the numbers. Farms, like you said, so many of these businesses, local areas rely on immigration. That's not something that can be ignored. And you look at what's happening now. Crops are dying. Um, Money is being lost. Produce is being left out in fields unattended because immigrants are leaving, whether that's through deportation or self-deportation. And
Yes.
so, when fighting for immigration, I think it's important to be realistic with the numbers and be realistic with the actual need. Immigrants help our society. They're not harming anything. I think that goes into a deeper conversation about deep-rooted racism in this country, but we'll go to that another time.
I want to follow up more specifically regarding certain visas for farmers to hire seasonal workers. I think a lot of people don't understand that the
Hmm.
cost factor plays a big part as well.
Hmm.
Do you think there should be some reform there when it comes to the cost of renewing visas for temporary work or seasonal work?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. If something is if my thing is, if it's not one person, offering their voice about it, if it's not five, if it's 10, 20, 30, we need to obviously look at it, right? It needs to not be ignored. And this is something that has been talked about over and over. There absolutely should be reform there.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. And okay, that wraps up the portion of public safety. So if anyone wants to put their question in the chat regarding what we just covered, feel free to do so. And also,
I
if you
have a
would like to come up and, oh yes, go ahead, Ayana.
Miss Bree.
Hmm.
Neither the Democrat Party or the Republican Party have an immigration reform plan currently. There's nothing, no plan. What specifically, besides making it easier, would be your plan? You don't have to lay out the whole thing, but what do you see as, day one, I want to reform this, this? Because right now there's nothing. It seems nobody has any ideas. What is your specific idea for, maybe we need more judges, maybe we need more, I don't know, application processors. what do you think is the most pressing need that you can see yourself reforming through Congress?
Well, all of the above, first of all, what you said, but just a clearer process in general. The process is very grueling, it's very slow. Um, and I think that's part of the problem is how long it takes. So if we can look at, from start to finish, from depending on how they get here, right? Is it from asylum seeking, how, or they, whatever the situation is for their immigration. I think we can look at the application process, how long it takes, who's processing applications, what the content of the application, these background checks, what are the longevity issues, where are the longest issues, shorten the process, and get people in front of the judges sooner. There are cases where people are waiting years and years,
Yeah.
and years at a time, and I understand that our system works slow in many instances. It's an antiquated system in a lot of ways.
Well, part of the problem was that I think maybe until about 2007 or so, there were only 4 immigration judges. So 4 judges, one for each district. I don't remember how they divided it up, to hear all of the cases. So you could be in Ohio and your case would be heard by a judge in Virginia.
Yeah.
And then Congress was like, hey, we're going to put more money in immigration. And they hired like 6 more people. It's still not enough. It just seems to me like they're not taking this seriously. Like either they want to, lean into whatever we passed in 1980. It just seems to be working.
Right. And that's why I say that's why it often feels like immigration is jerked around for just a running talking point, a political game, right? It honestly feels like if there was a solution to be had, there would have a solution that would have been made by now.
Yeah. All right. Okay, tired lady, take it away.
Hi. Hey there. Hi. I just, if I may say, I believe that you are a candidate to watch. I have watched you. Actually, I think we were on a live together with Atlanta Creole maybe a couple of months ago, or maybe last year or something like that.
I adore her.
Isn't she wonderful?
Oh, I just adore her. Yes.
Yeah, she's amazing. And anyway, so I recall being on the live with you, and then seeing your videos, and then seeing you running for Congress, and then watching you getting endorsements. Listen, you're a firecracker. I really see that about you, and I just wanted to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. And if I might say, you seem a little tired today, and I'm sure that there's a lot that you're sort of, as you are embarking on this incredible journey, I know that you're seeing what it's going to take. That's the feeling I get. And I just want you to know that I believe in you. I think you're amazing, and I'm going to do everything I can to help you get elected. And I just wanted to lift you up, because I felt like you needed a little bit of an uplift. So if that's okay. Yeah.
That means the world. Thank you. I'm tired.
You're so welcome.
I do too much at one time. I'm always tired. But I am going to slow down here. It slows down for me. I'll just be focusing on primarily campaigning in like the next 5-6 weeks or so. So
of course, it's a lot. You're taking on a lot. You are a warrior, and I hope that we can get a chance to talk, because I really think that what you're doing should be a template for other candidates. That's my opinion as a professional constituent, and I will just end it there.
Thank you. I'm gonna start doing some lives, so keep an eye out.
I will.
And Cassie, yes, it has been a rough news day. Yes, it has been.
It has been.
Been a rough news year.
Yeah.
It's been 7 days.
It's only been a week.
It's been 7 days.
No kidding. All right, so you can go ahead and drop me.
Thank you, tired lady.
Thank you so much, tired lady. And I do remember you now that you reminded me, so it's nice to talk to you again.
I love her. She's very supportive, and when she says she's going to help you, she means it. She
I
means
love
it.
that.
But yeah, it's been a rough news week.
This year has been 7 years. It's a year for each day.
I'm like, there's a reason why I'm so tired. Is it my iron? Is it, what's going on? And
You know
no, it's
what?
just I feel battered by the news.
No, honestly, you know what? Today, like my body feels heavy, and I feel like, just I felt a little off all day today, and then this happens, and it's like for some reason, it's like every big thing that happens, I've had this sense of foreboding right before, and it's so draining,
Very
right? And
empathic.
and
Yeah.
and I posted a video about what happened, and it was so irritating. MAGA got a hold of it, right? And instantly they're calling the lady a dummy and the C word, saying, oh, she should have gotten out of the way. And I'm just like, you watched somebody lose their life like that, and you can like, what is cognitively going on? It's we are up against some of the most anti-intellectual times I've ever. I didn't think I'd ever live through this. Like,
I
I read
um
books.
I'm reading, okay, speaking of books, I'm reading a book right now called On Inhumanity, and
Mm-hmm.
it talks about that, how you have to basically break down a person's identity into these little deplorable parts in order to carry out your plan of whatever it is, whether it's world domination or to win a WAR or whatever it is. But you have to break down their identity. You have to
Yeah.
call them these names. You have to say, well, if they had just gotten out of the way, and why didn't they comply? And those people don't comply, and those people, and you really have to dehumanize. You have to go through a process of dehumanization in order to get people on your side so you can carry
Mm-hmm.
out whatever campaign it is. Like, people love ICE now, right? Think of all the words that the current administration has had to use against certain people in order to get people to love ICE. People love seeing those videos of ICE like storming into places, and
It's crazy.
now we've seen them unalive someone on video. People are loving it.
But
I don't
the
understand it.
the more you normalize
Yeah,
violence, the easier it
yeah,
is to justify it.
yeah. So when you hear people say things like that, it's because they've literally been programmed to believe that the person who's being harmed is less than them, and their
Mm-hmm.
life is worth less than the person commenting. I mean, that's
It's
the exact playbook.
it's wild.
Yeah,
It's hard. It's hard for me to conceptualize. It genuinely is.
yeah, it is. It is. But we're going to move on to environment and infrastructure. I feel like we've talked a bit about infrastructure, about
Yeah.
hospitals and those kinds of things. But some communities in your district face concerns about aging water systems and contamination. And we just saw the president of the United States veto a bipartisan bill that would have provided clean water to the people of Colorado and the Colorado Basin. What would you do to secure federal investment to ensure clean, safe drinking water for every family? As you sip on your water.
As a sip of my water. Yeah. So I think we need to just keep eyes on the Savannah River. The Savannah. I think sometimes that's forgotten. The Savannah River runs through a good part of District 12. And that's a source, right? So it's a source for a lot of things and a lot of people. And federal investment should be protecting the Savannah River at all costs, protecting the power grid. Those are two things that I would heavily focus on, but especially protecting that river. It's a natural resource, and we do enough damage to natural resources.
In Ohio, they have the data centers that want to dump their water into the Ohio River. And
Don't even get me started on data centers. Those are my nemesis.
You don't want to talk about data centers?
That's my nemesis right now. So Georgia is actually outpacing any other state for data centers right now. So actually, I live just outside of the district, like right outside of it, maybe like an hour and a half. And I actually kicked up a fuss about a data center. And I got them ran out of town. But they were proposing a 900,000 square foot data center.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, they were proposing a 900,000 square foot data center. And at the meeting,
wow.
What did they say? At the meeting, they say, we'll only use 225,000 gallons of water a day. only.
Ah,
And they tried to convince us that that's the low end. I said, what in the gaslighting is going on, right? Like, and so data centers are something that I absolutely talk about. There's actually one that they're trying to build over in the Augusta area in one of the abandoned malls. And like, let's be very clear about data centers. All they do is drive up energy costs. They take up a lot of water, drive up your water bill, your energy bill. They take up a lot of space, and they cause harm to wildlife. Right, that hum messes with
okay.
livestock.
I've been telling this story to people because it's funny. It's
What
funny to me.
happened?
I can laugh now, but someone in Alabama posted a video. He lives near a data center,
Hmm.
and he, was like, listen to that sound. He had, he was outside and he was recording outside, and I'm like, I don't hear anything. I hear nothing. I heard birds chirping. And I typed that into the comments, and people were like, "Oh my God, you must be a Republican, and you love these data centers, and how could you say that?" And I said, "I don't hear it. I'm sorry, but I don't hear it." And they were like, "There's this hump." It sounded to me, because I
Hmm.
live in the big city. It sounded
Ah,
like all the big city airplanes overhead, trucks up and down the street every day, construction all the time. I hear
sounds like
noise
normal to you.
all the time. So it sounded like regular noise. I didn't
Hmm.
know that there was a noise and that it bothered people, because we live near noise. It's always noisy here, you know? But I got cussed out, and whatever. It's fine.
How will you make sure that infrastructure dollars actually reach local communities and not get stuck in federal bureaucracy?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
I think that's important in the language and how it's written and oversight, right? I don't know if you ever try to read a bill. They're
Yeah,
long and they're complicated,
yeah.
and a lot gets overlooked in bills. Um, and I think I would like to end that trend. To be honest with you, I don't think we need that much legalese to get something done. And I think the less language surrounding it, the less fluff around it, the more likelihood it actually gets to where it's going, and actually providing the oversight necessary. Put a task force onto it, make sure it happens, go apply it. Don't let it sit in la la land, right? Don't let it sit on a desk for too long. Actually appoint someone to a task, point someone to a team, and actually get it done. Again, that's with the whole timing thing, with the whole it takes forever to get something done in our government because it's antiquated, right?
And
I think we
and
need to start combating that.
and one of the issues, like I said, I was before this, I was listening to the Senate talk about that bureaucracy, that gridlock. They did send money to the state to start this project. This was in Colorado,
Hmm.
and the new administration comes in and says, "You know what? I don't think we really want to do these wind farms anymore. We don't really think
But
that
you know what?
we don't think
But
wind energy is less expensive, and we don't think
But you
it's
know
going to
what that
save
is
people
though?
money."
That's like Donald Trump has some weird hate for windmills and wind farms. I don't know, like if he has a phobia or something, but that's what the issue is, and that is wild to
Maybe he
me.
does.
I like the beef this man has with wind is not
And he does call them windmills. It's like, dude, they're not windmills.
right.
But yeah, Courtney for Congress said it. He's backed by big oil,
Hey,
and big
Courtney,
oil wants us to stay dependent on fossil fuels.
it could be the
Period.
hairpiece. You know, a fun fact. Um, A fun fact that about Donald Trump's hair is that he was one of the first people to go get hair plugged, and that's why it looks a little off.
Oh, so he's like an OG, like, let's test it. Y'all are hilarious. Hilarious. It wasn't
Oh
me, Mr.
goodness!
President. It wasn't me. It was
Oh, it
her.
was definitely me.
It was her talking about your hair. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Wind farms are pretty. I used to live in Colorado, and there are several driving through the southern region of Colorado.
I don't, it, to me, the seeing other forms of energy being harnessed, to me, is like beautiful, right? That's progress. I love to see progress. Big oil doesn't like it because
Mm-hmm.
they can't make money off of it, and
Yeah.
then they can't raise the rates on it. It's saving people
Right.
money. They don't want to save you money. They don't want you to save money. They
Mm-hmm.
want you to use probably less because they can't produce as much as they used to, but
Mm-hmm.
they'll raise the rates on that little bit that they're still able to produce.
Right. And
And
it's
you'll
just like
pay it because what are you going to do? Not have electricity?
exactly. It's just like grocery prices. What are you gonna do? Not gonna eat? Like,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes,
So
capitalism 100% is a global problem.
it is. It is. But conversations for another time.
Oh yeah.
But you mentioned that there's some areas without high-speed internet, but that's essential for schools, small businesses, and telehealth. What is your plan to expand broadband infrastructure in areas that need it the most?
Yeah, that was something that I actually got to advocate for when I went to Capitol Hill is telehealth in particular. Um, so whether that means programs, whether that means enrolling low income families in programs that help fund paying for internet services, paying for wireless services, connecting electric services, electric companies. Oh my goodness, I know the struggle of it. I used to live in a super rural area where you had to pay, what was it? I think for every like 3 feet or 6 feet, you had to pay for the electric to be ran. And it is so expensive.
Oh,
It
wow.
is so incredibly expensive. So offering grants, offering programs to help cut back some of those costs, to help connect people to the modern world, right? Because, even if someone can't necessarily get to a hospital or a mental health clinic, at least they could fall back on telehealth. At least because right now I could get off this line with y'all. I could get on the phone with a doctor and go pick up a prescription first thing in the morning. Or honestly, it's only 7 o'clock. I could do it in like 20 minutes, you
Yeah.
know? And that's such a privilege because of where I live. And that's something that should be extended to everyone. There are so many people who, what if they don't have a vehicle, right? Like, because my pharmacy is in walking distance,
Mhm.
there are so many people who, what if, this is just my therapist brain, what if they have agoraphobia and don't want to leave the house, right? Or what if someone's injured and can't leave the
You
house,
can't leave the house. Yeah.
right? It creates a huge inequality and a huge gap in who deserves care, right? And so telehealth is something that I absolutely am going to heavily advocate for. And like I said, I think the answer to that is programs, grants, um, that help people get to these services, help people pay for their wireless, help people lay electric if they need to. Because trust me when I say it is expensive.
And one of the issues you have with internet, like where I live at, there's like 10, 15 different companies that can come and do internet. And I know that's not the case in every state. You might have
Nope.
only one or two that are, for some reason, allowed to do that.
Yeah.
How do you break that down? How do you, I don't even know. Is that a monopoly? That's not a monopoly, is it? How do you bust that up? How do you get them?
Honestly, I think it has to do a lot with just how rural areas are set up. Like, where I live now, it's two options for electric companies. Like, depending on where you live, you get Georgia Power, you get Jackson Electric, right? And it's just in some areas the only thing you can get is Georgia Power. Where I live, the only thing I can get for internet is AT&T. It's just who's contracted with what area. It's completely dependent, from what I understand. It's completely dependent on who that area reaches out to contract with. And so if it's a rural area that only has Johnson and Johnson Wireless, right? That's who that's contracted with. So that's how I understand it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. We did have a question in the chat, and it says, would you support expanding utility assistance programs for families struggling right now?
Oh hell yeah, yeah. Utilities again. I think that's right along the lines with food, right? It's under Maslow's hierarchy of needs, shelter, and part of having adequate shelter is utilities, right? Um, and utilities are out of this world. Like I'm barely home, and my utility bills are super high. I'm just like, what in the world is going on? So that is absolutely something I'd advocate for. Um, it's like I said, it's not something that is a benefit or something of a like. It's it's a requirement. It's a necessity.
That's something that when the government was shut down, people didn't realize that it would affect local heating programs because
Mm-hmm.
the money runs out from the Fed to give to that program,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to stop working. They can't give out any
Exactly.
funds. And
Exactly.
people say, "Oh, this government, I didn't realize the government was shut down. It doesn't affect me."
Yeah.
Well, look, here it comes. Here comes the boulder. It's barreling towards you. And
Mm-hmm.
it's something that people don't think about. But okay, moving it over to Jaz to talk about bipartisanship in governing. Go ahead, Jaz.
Yes, so Ms. Bree, as we know, your district has a mix of urban and rural voters across any political spectrum.
Yeah.
Could you tell me how would you reach across the aisle to find common ground on issues like jobs, healthcare, and infrastructure funding when you get to Congress?
Um, so one of the things that I didn't realize I was preparing myself for um, was my classes that I teach. So I teach psychoeducational groups, and what that means is I teach the neuroscience of addiction from a disease model. And so I can teach a room up to 25, 30 adults at one time. I can have a CEO to a former gang leader in one corner, right? And one thing I have to do is talk to them and of an understanding that everyone can hear and everyone can consume and digest. Um, and so everyone walks out with the same understanding and the same collective knowledge. And I think when things are spoken plainly, clearly, with intention, it does reach across the aisle. I think there's a lot of right now what we see in politics is from the left, you see a lot of purity politics, right? And from the right, you see a lot of just stubbornness and not wanting to hear anything that anyone on the other side says. And we just flat out need more dialogue over division. And I think the more we sit and talk to each other like this, the more we'll get across because 9 times out of 10, if gas prices are too high for me, they're too high for you. Let's talk about it.
Thank you for that. And if you could give me an example of a bipartisan initiative or a bill that comes to mind that you would pursue that can actually directly affect your district once it's passed.
Yeah. I think again, to reference advocating for mental health policy, that is one of the few things that is still bipartisan. There are still a lot of Republicans on the Hill that are in favor of a lot of mental health policy. And so I honestly think, considering the rate that rural hospitals are closing so quickly and clinics are closing so quickly, telehealth and infrastructure to get people to be able to obtain wireless and telehealth would be one of my first things. And that's one of those things that's bipartisan because it just flat out helps everybody. Mental health, physical health is not one sided. It's straight up bipartisan. It's an everybody thing. And so I think that would be not, I don't want to say easy, but I think it would be something that I would definitely align first.
Thank you for that. And just out of curiosity, because this just came to my mind, once you're elected, um, could you tell me what caucuses would you join, or if they were to give you extend an invitation to you, what would ideally be a caucus you would join once you're on the Hill?
Well, they don't really give you a choice, unfortunately. But let's see. I think everybody would love to be on energy and commerce just because that holds the most power.
Would you
That
join the Medicare for All caucus and the Congressional Black Caucus?
Oh my gosh, yes, I would love the Congressional Black Caucus. That would be That would be an honor of all honors. I actually got to go to the Congressional Black Caucus event in DC last year, and I got to go to the Phoenix Awards. So I saw all of them in the flesh, and it was such an honor. Um, yeah, it was awesome. It was great.
All right. Thank you for that. Okay, so if anybody wants to continue to put your questions in the chat for Bree, feel free to do so. So it looks like I don't see any other questions in the chat. I just see some great engagement. People are enjoying your responses, Miss Bree. So we're gonna go ahead and go into the rapid fire questions, and these are more fun in nature. So I hope you're ready because I'm going to see how well you're battle tested for this.
Oh Lord.
Right?
Okay.
Okay. So if you were to pick a city, Augusta or Savannah, which one would you pick
Savannah.
in your district? Okay. And regarding sweet tea, since I'm in the South too, I'm in Alabama, would you choose a lightly sweetened sweet tea or a southern sweet tea?
Southern sweet tea.
Okay. And what's your favorite Georgia comfort food?
Biscuits and gravy. Excuse me.
Do you like yours like light gravy or like dark gravy?
Dark gravy.
Okay. All right. And what is an early morning campaign stop or that you would ideally like to have if you have one?
What do you mean?
Early morning campaign stop, would you ideally want to meet with a group of voters at a coffee shop or set up a small town hall? Or tell me what that would look like for you.
Actually, I have a coffee chat set up the 23rd at a veteran-owned coffee shop. So
Oh,
definitely
cool.
coffee chat. Yeah.
Yes. And are you more of a coffee drinker or energy drink on the trail, on the campaign trail?
It's honestly too much of both. If I'm being honest, it's too much of both.
And what's the biggest misconception for people that they don't know about Augusta and Savannah areas of your district?
Absolutely beautiful areas like the swamp. When you get to the swamplands, oh goodness, it's one of those things. I used to go to school in Savannah, so it holds a
With the
little special.
moss on the trees?
Yes, it holds a
Yes.
special place in my heart. So it's such a pretty district, and you go to the riverfront in Augusta and just watch the boats and just the water. It's just gorgeous.
It's beautiful. I've been to Savannah a few times. So, all right. And what is your first job you've ever had?
Oh my goodness, I was a hostess at Ruby Tuesdays in Savannah.
Oh, you were a server,
A
hostess?
hostess, yeah,
Oh, you was hostess. Okay.
yeah.
And what's tougher, Georgia voters or Washington insiders?
Ooh,
It could be both if you can't
honestly, both.
differentiate.
They're both
Okay.
tough.
Okay.
They're both tough in different ways, but they're both tough.
All right. And one thing you won't compromise on.
Nothing. I don't compromise on anything really.
All right. And lastly,
Like
when this
what
campaign
did
is over,
Earthy Kit tell us? Compromise. What do I have to
no,
do
what
that
is,
for?
she said, absolutely, the famous I don't compromise. So
I
I
don't
agree with this
compromise.
sentiment. And lastly, when this campaign is over, what do you hope that people will say about you?
That I gave it a good honest go.
All right, that wraps up the fun portion of our rapid fire. So thank you for that. You did pretty well, being right on the spot. So I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to open it up for anybody who would like to come up and ask Ms. Bree any question that we've covered thus far. If you want to come up and ask Ms. Bree a question on the panel, just feel free to click the guest box, or I'm sorry, not the guest box, but the two people icon, which is the request to come up and ask Ms. Bree a question. Go ahead and put them in the chat. But Ayana, did you have any other questions for Ms. Bree that you can think of?
I did actually.
What's up?
When you're elected,
When?
what is the most meaningful change you hope working families in your district feel by the end of your first term?
Actual affordability. because I think that's one of the things that people need to see to actually trust a politician, right? Is something tangible, and what's more tangible than saving your money?
All right. And what's some of your affordability plans? Like right now we're looking at food, housing, healthcare, higher education, like everything is out of control.
Housing, housing is probably the biggest one, right? And I think there need to be way more eyes on landlords and rental companies and their requirements. If an apartment costs $1,500 a month, they're requiring 3 times the rent. And let's not forget the federal minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour. Granted, yes, most places are paying more than that, but to comfortably live in an apartment, but to afford that, you have to make like 28 an hour.
Yeah.
Most jobs are not paying $28 an hour, right? So we need to look at either raising wages or lowering housing costs or doing a little bit of both, right? But definitely housing, I think is where people are feeling it the fastest and the most, right?
Especially
It's
in Georgia. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So, okay. And I also would like to know, in your opinion, what sets you apart from the others running in your primary? Like why should people vote for Bree in the primary?
Well, I'm not a politician. I am of the marginalized, right? Like I've been through a lot. I understand real world problems. I've been through real world problems. I'm still going through real world problems, right? I'm not a 10-year incumbent with $1 million war chest. I'm not out of touch. I'm in touch. I'm grounded. Um, I consider myself of the people, right? And I think that's what makes me different. No one has my story. No one. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be here, let alone run for Congress, right? So it's I think my perspectives are different, my outlooks are different, and how I go about things are very different because of my lived experiences. And I think that's what makes me different. And I also like to think I'm funny, and that helps. So
Yeah, you are, but you're very purpose driven. Like you have a purpose here, and I would love to see it carried out. I think Jazz has a comment for you or a question.
I do. I want to know, Congress did pass a continuing resolution back in November to extend to resume the government, and we also know that the government will possibly shut down again at the end of this month. And I'm
yes,
sorry, Ayana. I know that. I'm sorry. I know this can directly affect a lot of people, so I fully understand. But I want to know from you. I want to know from you being a candidate running for Congress. Do you think the messaging portion of letting people know how important it is to expand the healthcare subsidies and to stop the HHS funding freezes? That way, the appropriate money can get allocated properly for people. Do you think that messaging needs to be more loud to a lot of people that are not only running but also sitting members in Congress? The messaging needs to be tailored a little better when it comes to that.
oh yeah, we can tailor messaging in a lot of different things in a lot of different ways, and that's definitely one of them. Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Thank you for that. Okay, we have someone up that would like to ask you a question. Hi, Buttermilk. How are you?
Hello, ladies. How everybody doing? Um, as we said earlier, there has been a lot of heavy news, and one of the stories released today was about the young boy on the bus in Fulton County. Are you not aware of that? Is
No,
the
no, what
young
happened?
Well, there was a young black man who was on a school bus, and the bus driver tried to tell him that he didn't belong on the bus. Fast forward, they end up calling the police or some sort of
I
authority
did see
there.
that. I
And
did see that.
yes, so I guess my question to you is, um, how do you make sure incidents like this are not happening so often, or ever again? Honestly, it was like if he had a pew pew on him, I don't think that the boy would be alive, because that man literally had pain in his mind that he wanted to hurt him. So how do we make sure that, we are hiring police and authorities that, have all good intentions? How do we make that happen?
Right. So, I think it starts with the proper training for one. There definitely should be different training and proper training when it comes to mental health things, when it comes to minors, situations at school. I don't necessarily think we need to be applying police forces to all of those situations all the time, right? But further than that, I think when situations like this do occur, because unfortunately, things like this do happen, right? And that's out of our control in a lot of situations. But I think to lessen the occurrence is about consequence. There needs to be actual, tangible consequence, right? Visible consequence. And that's not to sound harsh, but it's just that accountability is, it's not anti-law enforcement, but it's definitely pro justice. And, holding law enforcement accountable is how you bridge the gap and get the community to trust. And it's also how you lessen those occurrences, I believe. If that makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah, it was an absolute horror to see, and
it was rough.
Yeah. So I'm gonna need Georgia to get it together now. But good luck on your run.
Thank you.
And thank you for answering my question.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking it.
Thank you, Brother Mel. All right. Did anyone else have another question to ask Miss Bree? Let's see.
I have one final question, Miss Bree.
What's up?
How do you plan on getting people to vote in the primaries? People don't vote in the primaries, Miss Bree.
I know they don't. Lord have mercy, Jesus.
That's why we're here, because the people are not voting, and we're trying to get people to vote. How do you plan on getting people to the polls for you?
So I am, again, a different kind of candidate. I am the only one with this kind of visibility within the race. Obviously, on the Republican ticket, there's Tory Brianna, who called ice on the Hyundai plant, right? But I also have my own level of visibility that's unlike anybody on the Democratic ticket. And so I think with the platform that I already had built, which was quite, a decent size, about 100,000 between TikTok and Instagram, and between this one that I've built, I've got a lot of visibility, and I think that absolutely helps. So I'm hoping that my visibility does me some good, because it's different to see congressional races sprout out of social media. It's just unheard of, right? So I think that in and of itself it draws eyes, and so I hope it continues to in the best way possible.
Well, when you're out in the community, I don't know if you knock doors or if you're doing phone
we
banking.
We start this month.
Okay, good. So okay, so when you've been talking to people just out and about, what has been the response that you're hearing from voters? Are they favorable towards you, or are they like, no, I vote Republican, I'm always going to vote Republican, blah, blah, blah.
That happened one time, but that's it. Everybody else has been super, super open.
Good.
Even conservatives have been willing to take my information and send me emails and having conversations. So it's been really good. That only happened one time. A man looked at me. He goes, "Are you a Republican?" He goes, "I said no, sir." He goes, "Oh, I'm sorry," and walks away. It's like, okay. But that's only happened one time. Everybody else has been super receptive.
Good. That's what I like to hear. I like to hear that. Because sometimes when you're doing these organic, from the ground up campaigns, people they hear your name and they're like, who are you? Why should why would I support you?
Right.
And it's tough to kind of get people to, put the sign in their yard and all of that. And we talked to, and I know we're wrapping up, but we talked to a few candidates about the cost of running a campaign. And so we we would like to encourage the people. We would like to encourage the people to go to your website and find
Please
ways
do.
they can donate through Act Blue, right? They can donate through Act Blue. They can find your link at your website, BreeWoodsonForCongress.com. You see it in the graphic. Go and donate. Every dollar helps. We know that every dollar goes towards something, whether it's
just to give y'all an idea,
or billboards or
because it's a congressional race, and just how the laws in my state are, it is $5,220 for me to file.
Just to file. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. There should be like a general fund or something for people who want to run for office, you know?
So there is like an option of gaining signatures, but it's a massive amount of signatures, and it becomes completely dependent on if you get enough signatures. And I'm like, I'm not willing to risk that. So it seems, as crazy as it sounds, it seems easier to raise the 5,000, right?
And somebody said you need to change that when you get to Congress. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Because all that's meant to do is bar average working class people from running.
Yeah, it is. It becomes a thing of privilege instead of, anybody can run. Anybody can go to Congress. And it's like, whoa, not exactly.
Not particularly. Right. But this is how you keep the wealthy and the elite in politics. This is how.
Yeah, that's how. You're right. But Bree, oh my gosh, I'm lucky that I got to meet you, because yes, I do follow you on social media and I've seen your videos. And when I saw your name on the calendar, I was like, yes, I can't believe it. I ran to sign up to do this. And I'm so just, I'm enthralled. What's the word? Your purpose in running and your spirit, I love it. I love it all. And I wish you the best of luck. I know you're going to do great. You've already done it. You just got a few more steps. Can you tell the people when the primary is, when they can start voting in your district, in your state?
Yeah. May 16th is the primary, and then the general is November 3rd. But May 16th is the date we need to remember. They have not released the early voting calendar yet, but I'm sure they will soon.
Okay. So May 16th is the date of the primary. People go to BreeWoodsonForCongress.com to learn how you can support Bree, whether it's volunteering or through sending a little moolah to support her campaign. And you can follow her on socials. Hit that plus sign next to her name if you're not already following her on TikTok. And make sure you go and look at her videos. She's got good energy. She's one of the best that I've seen so far. And Bree, we thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate you and the audience for being engaged and for being polite and wonderful to our candidate. We love that people come by and want to ask questions, because you're running for Congress for the 12th district, but you're going to be, a representative for the entire country. So
absolutely,
it's good that people come by. We invite you, Bree, and the audience to join us for our next town hall, where we will be featuring Angela Nelson, who is running for Minnesota State Senate in District 35. That will be Thursday, January 8th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, we have a roundtable discussion that we would like to invite you to, Bree, on January 18th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be sending out invitations. Okay, that's right. We will be sending out invitations and more information if you want to join us, if you want to be a part of that panel. That would be wonderful. We would love to have you.
Awesome.
And it's just a group of candidates talking about the issues, talking about how much it costs, talking about, shooting the breeze, trying to figure out how we're all going to do this thing together. So again, join us Thursday, January 8th. That is tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Angela Nelson. And our makeup candidate, Brandon King, will finally get him in, who's also running in Minnesota. Following Angela, that'll be at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So everybody come back, join us again. We love having you here. We love having the engagement. We are Our Vote Counts, or OVC, a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity like Bree, and ensure every voice is heard through education, outreach, accountability, and action. We're building a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. Thank you for joining us. For me and for Jaz and for Bree and Our Vote Counts. Remember, your vote is your power. Everyone have a great evening. Bye.